Moyers on Murdoch. Oh, I forgot to bring the microphone over. There we go. Focus. It is Monday, December 4th. Monday, December 3rd. So now it is December. This is interesting because these videos are covering my own development as I come back to society after wandering in the wilderness, after free falling through life, and let my business go, my apartment, just stop working for other people, start figuring out what's in my head, writing, reading, writing a lot of poetry, smoking a lot of weed, doing a lot of mushrooms, hanging out with my friends, having a lot of sex. Not anymore. I used to. Now I'm at my parents' house in December 3rd, 2018. Writing my website, working on my book proposal, reading books that I promised myself I would read. I like 2 more, and then I'm going to try to, Shaz, you need to use more affirmative language. I don't care about that stuff. Here we go. Ready? Murdoch on Empire.
The head of the world's biggest private media Murdoch controls the 75 newspapers, book and internet businesses.
I made this pretty good, right? It's Bill O'Reilly. There's an ambiance to it.
If Murdoch were the angel Gabriel, you still wouldn't want him owning the sun, the moon, and the stars. That's too much prime real estate for even the pure in heart. But Rupert Murdoch
is no saint.
When it comes to money and power, he's carnivorous, all appetite, and no taste. He'll eat anything in his path. Politicians become little paid pigeons to be picked off with flattering headlines, generous airtime, a book contract, or the old-fashioned blackjack that never misses.
Campaign cash. Never misses campaign cash. Money and power. No saint.
The ambitious can't resist his blandishments, nor his power to get or keep them in office so they can return his favor. Campaign cash. No saint. No saint. No saint. No saint. Our media and political system has turned into a mutual protection racket. You will not be surprised to learn that Murdoch's company paid little or no federal income tax over the past 4 years. His purchase of the Wall Street Journal made for each other. They both pursued the right's corporate and political agenda of the past quarter century. Both venerate what the journal editorials call the animal spirits of business. He's accustomed to using journalism as a personal spittoon. In the months leading up to the invasion of Iraq, he turned the dogs of war loose in the newsrooms of his empire, and they howled for blood. Of course, he wasn't the only media mogul to clamor for war, and he's not the first to use journalism to promote his own interests. His worst offense with Fox News is not even its baldly partisan agenda. Far worse is the travesty he's made of its journalism. Fox News huffs and puffs, pontificates and proclaims, but does little serious original reporting. His tabloids sell babes and breasts, gossip and celebrity. But the problem isn't just Rupert Murdoch. His pursuit of the Wall Street Journal is the latest in a cascading series of mergers, buyouts, and other financial lemonade that are making a shipwreck of journalism. Public-minded newspapers are being dumped by their owners for wads of cash or crippled by cost-cutting, while their broadcasting cousins race for the bottom. Murdoch is just the predator of the hour, the modern maestro of the financial marketplace ruled by money and mogul. Instead of checking the excesses of private and public power, these 21st century barons of the First Amendment revel in the public be damned.
The public be damned. The public be damned.
Animal spirits, animal spirits, animal spirits, no saint. Animal animal spirit, animal spirit, animal spirit, no saint. Animal spirit, animal spirit, animal spirit, no saint. Money and power. If Rupert Murdoch were the angel Gabriel, you still wouldn't want him owning the sun, the moon, and the stars.
Rupert, is there any agenda that you want to shape?
No, not at all. I think that we don't have the power to change it. Obviously, if you're in media and you're concerned with what's going on in the world, you'd like to make a difference by putting forward your opinions. But you're not going to change the world completely. I think we can't change elections. I think good, strong communities, organisations can disclose these things, can help shape the agenda, but only in a limited way.
Right. Is that really what he believes? I love it when I can get the person in their own words. What I'm doing, I'm giving the world my own words. If I err, tell me but where, correct me. I'm seeking correction. I feel like that's... If you have integrity, before I correct others, I should invite correction myself. Before I correct the word of others or the actions of others, let me inspect my own actions and my own word. This whole year, I was like, I want to. I was like, the world is fucked up and shit. I've been cultivating something, a viewpoint, over my life. And then at the end of 2017, I was like, bombing, terrorist attack, fuck. You know what? Maybe the world needs a little bit more Shaz in another capacity other than real estate. So then I thought, oh, fuck, well, running for president. And you know what it is. I haven't really even explained this, but I will when I write later on these weeks. I just didn't want to go through another election cycle with so much bullshit. That really gets me down. I hate it when people lie to me. That's what me and Addie, we got off on the wrong foot when she was 17 and I was 22. She lied to me. I chased her in my car. She said, you seem insane. I've never forced myself on her, and we've actually never been together. I think I've proven that I have self-control and I'm not crazy. But I do stupid shit and I'm stubborn, and I trying to recognize that so I don't do suicidal shit. But she lied to me, and I was like, try to catch her in a lie. I've since learned that when people lie to you, she taught me a lot about human behavior, which then I apply on the political and social when I look at politics. I don't think I've really told her that, but a lot of how I look at women and sexuality, I apply that to sales, apply it to politics. Wisdom is wisdom. So yeah, one of the rules with her, and the reason why we're still in each other's lives, and we've blown up at each other, but now, since like the last 5 years, it's all been positive. And her addiction, that's the only way she got out of that is through positive support and love, not just by me, but her family, really. She went home to her mama for a while and made the decision in her head to try. And then she's been succeeding, but you have to make that decision first, because it's a personal thing. No one's in there in your mind with you, fighting with you. So everyone can give you the support, but in my experience, the person has to decide. Because I've seen all the support in the world be wasted on people. And then I've seen people with no support at all, but that's when they decided to get clean, when they lost all their support. And they finally said, all right, it's just me and this addiction. Who's going to win? And I know people who haven't won. And we're going to get to a story later on of a dude who was kind of a dick to me. But how can you be mad at that person when he didn't win his struggle with addiction and he's not here anymore? And in those couple weeks I interacted with him, there's another guy who's not here anymore either. And he also didn't win his struggle with addiction. So 2 weeks of my life and 2 people gone. So there's a lot of people. They say the opioid epidemic, addiction epidemic. There's some bigger forces at play. There's some patterns on our societal level. It's not just, these aren't just patterns this large, don't come out of nowhere. And they're not going to go away right away either. But wisdom and the stuff that I think I'm talking about and the stuff that I've gathered over my life, applicable on the individual level for the addict and then hopefully for the society too. So I learned from Addie, and this is relevant to what we just heard, because Rupert Murdoch in his his yellow journalism. They call it yellow journalism, turn of the 20th century. William Randolph Hearst, you could go visit the Hearst Mansion in California, supported those wars. They say World War II, the war against Hitler, it was caused by World War I. You want to justify World War I? So there's a lot more pacifists that came out against World War I. World War II, they had better copy, better marketing, even though they did support him right up until before the war. So there's some logic that you can point out, but it's harder to break through against the Nazis are bad, constantly reinforced in our cultural mind frame. Well, Shaz, does that mean that you defend Nazis or support Nazis? Are those my two choices? The Antifa guys beating up or fucking with cops on the street and Nazis? That sounds like it's a false dichotomy, but rational discussion looks at the bigger picture. That's how you manipulate people. Things I've learned from Addie that I applied to other stuff. But she was my first lesson. I didn't get caught. I was very close, but I didn't get caught. She didn't get me to do her drugs, or she got some stuff out of me, but upon reflection, stuff that I was willing to give out of love, and that's what built the friendship. She's been there for me recently, but a lot of our relationship, I was there for her. So I realized, started off this talk by saying, when people are lying to you, me trying to figure out her lies and catch her in a lie made me look crazy. And you might really know you're not crazy. People I do drugs with, this one 22-year-old addict, we should call her something, Penthouse, Lincoln Center Penthouse girl in Manhattan recently. Penthouse was like, we were doing some stuff. And I think I told her, maybe she told me, no, I told her probably. I was like, yeah, your first assumption has to be your sanity, because that way if I'm crazy, I'm a burden on others, I'm sorry. But I'm pretty sure I'm sane. And if I'm not crazy, I'm sane. But when you're playing with your sanity with psychedelics, I guess you want objective metrics of your sanity. So I've lived a life where life has told me and affirmed. That's what Addie, after her, those other good relationships, Shah, and then where are we at now? I left Shah. I'm at my folks' house. These are too many tangents. I have to wrap them all up. In my romantic life, objective metrics of love, meaning that relationships, actual person loves me, I love them, good sex, road dog, ride or die, I want to go run for governor of California, I'm right there beside you. We both tested each other. Young love, finding out where the boundaries are, and then also self-control. As I'm a man and I get older, I have more self-control. Still working on it though, when you're tempted and you decide to do that thing that you think you're justified in doing, like being with someone because they were with someone, but it hurts their feelings, and you realize that logical justification doesn't allow you to hurt people's feelings. In a relationship, their emotional state should matter to you. You're partners, right? And have each other's back and all that. You're the refuge for that person. You're not if you wanted someone to be your teacher or your logical source, that's like read a book. A partner's there to hold and comfort you. So sometimes you got to turn off that logical I'm right mind off and be like, I could be right or I could be happy. That's what most men, I think, figure it out. I've heard that from many guys in marriages, long relationships. At some point, you have to decide whether you want to be right or happy, and you have to let some things go. And in a good relationship, it comes back to you. And then that grace and that vulnerability is reciprocated. You have to be vulnerable to allow the other person to. So that thing about chasing her in the car, I come back to a lot because, so regardless of whether I assume my sanity or not, I know I'm not crazy. And just because I'm chasing you in a car at 90 miles an hour through the highways of Southern California doesn't make me crazy. No, I'm being an idiot. I'm looking crazy. But that's what it is. Crazy is as crazy looks. So you can assume your sanity, but still you don't want to really look crazy, because if the whole world thinks you're crazy, then even if you really know you're sane, you're kind of still, for all intents and purposes, in this thought experiment, might as well call you crazy. And that's the scary thing, I guess, about society, is we're in this together. So I could assume my sanity, and I could assume my normalcy, and I could assume my intelligence. But if I don't get any recognition at all, then that's an interesting life. I guess you could be a monk. You could go away and be a hermit. Those are the guys who really trust themselves on their spiritual path. Come down from the mountaintop with your cool ideas from your hermitude. I think my cousin who came back from Iraq, crazy pretty much, that's not the clinical term, but that's where he's at. He can't really interact with society, but he's on his own thing, reading a lot of Bible. I hope to get him off that Bible stuff and a little bit of other stuff. I think he's getting a little too deep into it, talking about dragons and shit. But he told me to watch out for dragons. And then on the plane ride back home, I met a girl and her last name was Dragon. So I'm not going to doubt his powers. He's blind people acquire other senses that are heightened because you have one less to pay attention to. Him pulling out of society, maybe he's tapped into some realm. So I'm agnostic. You tell me some shit and it happens, and I'll pay attention. But so that's sanity, insanity, truth, and lies. Lies make you feel like you're going crazy. Our truth is based on a shared framework of reality. So these guys like Rupert Murdoch, who muddy it on purpose for money, just promoting wars, feeling like that's just the way of the world. That's why they piss me off so much, because it's not just about the truth or the lies. And I learned from Addie early on. That's what, I feel like other people, this is true in their life too. You learn a lot from the loves, not just from, definitely school was one aspect. And then as soon as I got the books, and Amazon actually, just fucking ordered over $500 in my lifetime off of Amazon or something, but a ridiculous number. Definitely over a couple hundred. I counted them this last year. I have them in a file or something. Not physically. I gave those up with the apartment. I was carrying those around too much. I didn't want to. Material things. I needed to go lighter. For what Shaz is going to do right now, I need to be a light, quickly deployable force. That is one of our tactics to achieve change in this world, is to unify our thought and our narrative and leverage our speed. We're going to be the Napoleon's army of political theorists, being able to break apart and regroup and outmaneuver our enemy. Tacticians. But so yeah, she taught me, if someone's lying to you, and I've repeated this many times, you do not have to try to figure out what is the truth, because that's one of the ways you're going to get caught. Because if they're manipulative, I have one objective measure of why I thought she was smarter than me, and I think I'm pretty smart, and I'm probably smarter than most people I talk to, unless it's certain. Occupy Wall Street, there's a lot of smart people, but usually I think those gifted classes in high school proved that I was pretty up there. But we were playing Minesweeper on the computer, and I like to play chess. I like objective metrics of intelligence. My chess score isn't the best, but then again, I'm trying to create my own style. I think once I start reading theory, I'll probably jump up there, but once I get over 2,000 score, I'll be in the 99th percentile, and then that'll prove something. Right now, I'm hovering around 70 to 80s, depending on what stupid idea I'm trying to plan out. I was trying to not castle ever. Don't think I can hold that plan, but I have some unique things I do which I like, which just might be more advanced shit. But I'm also, what I like about it is I like learning what people in the 900s, 1,000, 1100s, 1200s. Right now I'm in the 1200 to 1300, bouncing between the two. And there's a huge difference in how those guys play. 1200s, this is all 5-minute games on chess.com. 1200s, you just have to play a clean game. And then 1300s, you have to have a little bit more subtle attack. If you attack straight on, you're not going to win. And you have to, what I noticed is you have to plan out the end game. So that's what's cool too. Opening, middle, and end game. Once you get up to 1300s, you have to kind of respect your pawns and think about the position and things that help you towards the end game. A decent defense where you can actually, you have to make it so they can't checkmate you within a move or two. You have to give them, make sure you're thinking that your defense can hold up somewhat when you go to attack in case you mess up and they come after you. You have to have a decent pawn game, because if you let their pawns by the end game completely outmaneuver yours, these guys know how to run their pawns down to the end. I've had my kings run plenty of times with a couple pawns. You realize how strong pawns are. But that's the exciting thing about learning it on your own. And then hopefully, just like how I've done politics, when you read the theory, you're just relearning stuff that you've learned on your own. That's why I've always thought in how I approach my own education. Learn it many ways, learn it on my own. When I would read math books in school, I would read how they did the problem, but try to figure it out on your own or a different way. Multiple aspects to knowledge. Like you hold the gem of wisdom up, and then the light shines through, and as you turn it, the light shines through different colors, different sides. Many different facets to life. That's provable. So the gem of Addie and the wisdom of my youth. So when someone's lying to you, chasing after them to expose the lie. That's what I got so many tangents. She was playing Minesweeper. She got a better score than me. Consistently. Like, she got the best score I'd ever seen. Something fucking ridiculous. I forgot how big the game was, but it was like 6 seconds or 5 seconds or something stupid. It was like just pushing all the buttons as quick as she could. But I'm like, and then I know a little bit about her family and other stuff. There's a good mind in there. I would tell her. I said, you have a Ferrari mind, but what I found is it grinds its gears if it doesn't have something to do. People say, I can't turn my mind off. Elon Musk is like that. I saw him on a podcast with this guy whose name we shall not mention. And he's like, I just can't turn my mind off. And people don't have peace. And this world rewards you for being smart and capable and hardworking. It doesn't check that blind spot of lacking peace. And then once you have money, now you can get women. But I can tell the people who don't have peace in their relationships. And can you keep a good woman? Can you... Are they good women to begin with? Are they gold diggers? The guys who fall for the those issues. Not that you have to be monogamous, but there's a way to do it and not have your these women turn on you. The honesty. Some women will let you play out there. I have plenty of women like, yeah, what you do outside is cool. What I do outside is cool. We're together because we're voluntarily want to be with each other. If that's your person, then you want to spend all your time with them. And then if they're busy, you're busy or whatever, or you want to like get some takeout or something happens. There's so many different ways to play this game of life. It's not just one way, not just one game board. We're adults, we're human beings, we have all these different potentials. So I was like, she's really smart, Addie. And if I try to catch her in these lies, I come off looking crazy. She was with her friends in the car when I was chasing her. I was 22. She for years she wouldn't let me live that down. I can't hang out with you. You're crazy. All my friends think you're crazy. I'm like, that's one fucking time, but good impressions. I made some bad impressions in my bumble fucking way towards learning how to approach women. Thank God for late bloomers, right? And then I still bumble fuck my way towards approaching women sometimes. It's like, you don't want to put too much effort towards it. You want to be a little sincere. And sometimes sincerity is goofy. You just do what you feel. That's what's always been my rule. Do what you feel you should be doing at any given time. So then I recognize those lessons when we're looking at news and so much mendacity, so many lies. And sometimes trying to figure out, approaching a liar or a source of deceit, trying to figure out their angle. The reason why that is dangerous is because it's going to exhaust you. Because if they're clever or they have a whole apparatus behind them, then that might be the con. Is you try to figure it out, and then there's a lie behind that, and then there's a little bit of truth, but there's a lie behind that, and there's such a thing as a war of attrition. So you've been fighting a war thinking that you're trying to win, when actually the war is for your time. That con happens in real estate a lot. Brokers who told me when I first started, 2012-ish or something, some guy was like, how many apartments you showing him? 10 apartments? No, that's too many. You want to show them 3 apartments, 2 shitty ones and a good one. And if they're smart, they'll pick the good one. But what I was doing, I was covering the market, and I was finding the 10 best apartments that fit their needs based on our conversation we had. We already said that they're going to pay me a fee if I find them the best one on the market, so now it's in my best interest to cover the whole market, because that's how I develop my sales philosophy, like a philosophy of love. If you do the best job, but you find someone who wants to pay someone for doing a good job, now that's off the table. Women, kind of the same ways. Why would I take out a girl who wants to save herself for marriage if I want to have sex? If I want to have sex that night, there's certain indicators a girl's going to give me, she's down like that. So you learn what those indicators are, and now you're not trying to turn an apple into an orange, trying to turn a no-fee client into a fee client. There's usually if you go out, or I don't know, we won't talk too much about pursuing women, but yeah, so these different ways to engage, these different ways you can get caught, different ways that salespeople use these same strategies. War of attrition for people's times. I would tell people that. I'm like, yeah, they know that you're in town only for 2 days, and they're just showing you a bunch of shitty apartments, and then they're trying to steer you towards the ones they're going to make more money off of. And I would tell them, we all have access to the same shit. If they've been doing this as long as me or longer, they should know the market as well as I do. I know their company's access. They have access to the same shit. So if they weren't showing you these, they're just fucking around with you to try to steer you towards the car salesman who doesn't want you to leave the lot. So he figures out a way to get you emotionally invested in the one car he wants to sell you. It's a different type of way of doing business. And then there's another one where it's a consultatory sale. You become a professional, an advisor. News should be like that, I would imagine. And I really thought like New York Times was like that and some of these other periodicals. But this last year, not this last year, was about me. And thinking in my mind, who am I? What am I? Do I really want to run for president? Is this really what I should do? What are my blind spots? Vetting myself, right? But news in 2017, I was reading pretty much the New York Times every day. I had that life with like my apartment, my lifestyle, my money, doing decent. I had a really good vacation in April maybe. Went down to Puerto Rico. That's when I dropped the acid on the plane on the way down. Down there with an ounce of mushrooms, an ounce of weed, and fucking 20 different strains. I went to California first. Yeah, was it in April? I went to California around 420. And I went to Hollywood High Grade, really good shop in Hollywood. And the girl was sweet because I was being kind of annoying. I asked for 20 different grams, different strains. I wanted 10 sativa, 10 indica. It's stuff you do when you have money. I'm just like, I'm dropping a couple hundred on really nice weed just to see. I always wanted to have a weed vlog, which will come. So I wanted to start like being a sommelier of herb. And I got a couple favorites there in my mind from that. Fucking Rick James, everyone. So in Puerto Rico, I'd get my friends around, and that morning, what are we smoking? You bust out a new gram. So every day for like a couple weeks. I think I was only down there maybe for a week, 10 days, but I still had a bunch of those left. And every day it's a different strain. What is it today? And we smoke a little bit, and then we talk, and then after 5-10 minutes, be like, all right, so how's the high? How's it feel? But Rick James was the one that got everyone. Let me look that up real quick. Do they still sell that? Rick James was where after 5-10 minutes, like sometimes I'll be quiet. So I usually talk, and weed usually makes me even more talkative because my personality can push right through it. Heavy smokers, super stoners, if you feel a little bit like too stoned, you power through it. It's like when you're working out. You're just like, this is the pump. So then now it's awesome. And then sometimes you just want to kick back and I just want to be with my thoughts, or like you're just chilling. But usually a little bit of caffeine, a little bit of weed, I'm just like, I'm on one. But I'm not connecting as many of my thoughts, but you can see already I'm pretty good to let my mind wander. Let me look this up. Rick James Leafly. Leafly is a really good website for marijuana strains. Tales of Terrifying Highness. I just want to, stuff like this is like, but I haven't looked it up in a minute. Leafly, Rick James. No, I don't see it, motherfucker. See, we're still learning about different strains. But I remember specifically they had, let me look it up, Hollywood High Grade. Hollywood High Grade, Rick. I just want to smoke right now. I haven't smoked in a minute. I smoked a Slab City. Nah. Maybe it was just a little thing. Who knows? Sometimes these aren't even real strains. People are just ripping people off or making stuff up. But, menu, search, Rick. Nothing, darn it. Whatever. It's all good. Rick James, we were in Puerto Rico, and it was like So sometimes, like, you get so high you just shut up and everyone's talking, you're just like, ah, dude, I'm stoned. All of us did that. Like, every single, it's like a group of 3 people. I noticed when someone else would, like, we're all smoking and then we're just like, hey, yo, you good? They're like, oh, yeah, no, I'm cool, I'm cool. We're like, man, that Rick James, that just knocks the thoughts out of your head. It slaps you in the face. Rick James is fucking, I'll run across it again. I remember my favorites. Lamb's Breath was the one that Bob Marley would smoke. Or Lamb's Bread, or it's called Lamb's Breath, but that's a really nice one. I felt a lot of love. It's definitely like a grounding high. Nice, happy, warm. What else? What else was my favorite? Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is like Rick James. Bruce Lee is a fucking, start coughing. Oh, Bruce Lee, stop kicking me in the chest. You're too harsh, Bruce Lee. But he's some of these just, they give you that wapow. But we're not talking about that. We are talking about news. Rupert Murdoch. Citizen Murdoch. Was that Bill Moyers talking? So what I did, how do I make stuff like that? I just have the idea. I'm listening to his stuff about Rupert Murdoch. I'm at my folks' house. Shaw's in New York now. She came to visit during December. Yeah, we should talk about that, the context. And I'm just making this stuff and I'm writing. So I did this for a couple months because I also wrote Why I'm Right, and I wrote Citizens Audit. After the election, I think the election happened in 2010, yeah, I had to kind of make my peace with, well, that's not what I'm doing. What am I doing? And I didn't just give up and say, well, now to get a job. I was working a little bit in my folks' office. I'm living at their house. I'm making a little money, a little spending cash every now and then, close a commercial policy. I came up with some ideas on how to market towards small businesses, look up fictitious business names being applied to in San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County is the biggest county in the United States, at least in terms of area. It's pretty big as far as people too. So you look up online fictitious business names. You could see all the new businesses starting because they have to apply for a fictitious business name. This is great. These guys are either corporations or sole proprietors, small businesses. So a lot of times they do that before they find their commercial insurance, general liability. So it's a good lead database. Send them out flyers saying, here's $100 off if let us quote you. I would send off 50, 100 flyers a week. Usually get like a sale a week. But I have skill sets on how to make money just because I had skill sets on how to be in the military. But kind of suspicious if this is a role for me. It's a weird thing to claim in life. I know I have talent, I know I have ability, but I'm not sure if I want to plug into the system. Because most people just go along to get along. So my folks are like, why can't you just make money? And so when I put a little effort, I would make money. And they're like, why don't you do the fictitious business names again? Even now, they're like, why don't you start that back up? I think my skill set's a little different. I have something else I'm trying to do, but that's always in the background. I could always start a sales pipeline, and it takes a lot of peace to do that. So these things I learned from Addie about self-control, not falling for the con of trying to expose a liar. Sometimes there's ways to expose a liar. You catch him in multiple lies and triangulate. But spending the effort, you have to be aware of the effort. Like that whole physical car chase, that's leading me down the path to be like an abusive boyfriend or abusive husband. And where were you tonight? I recognize that. I was like, whoa. And that's what it is. When you're young, there's a lot of different paths you could go on. I had so much negative feedback, and I thank her for that. I'm like, I'm glad you called me out on that, because I could have. So with Shaw, I was a lot more. She was a dominatrix, and I was like, cool, not really. I don't think it's good long term for your mental health, but you seem to be doing okay. So I never spoke negatively about it. But she, on her own, and then she had some friends who did it and still did it. It's not like we look down on them. It's just you have to. It takes a lot of patience and understanding about people. You have to have a thick skin. You see some shit, literally. Sometimes you have to shit on people. But everyone wants to be pissed on, apparently. I was like, do you piss on people? She's like, yeah, that's the first thing. That's like going to a fucking buffet and getting a salad. It's a good mental image, right? A dominatrix buffet. That'd be interesting. You have all the girls lined up and you just go there and it's like, sample this and that. Yeah, if only we can let our freak flags fly, right? And just really get weird with it. But So we have these guys, Rupert Murdoch, and they make these empires, and it's really weird because his son founded sound bombing. David Murdoch. Let me fact check that real quick. I say that, but sometimes I say stuff that I misremember. Murdoch Sound Raucous Records. Founded Sound Bombing. Founded Raucous Records. Sound Bombing is just the one hip hop video CD that blew my mind. James Murdoch. See, I was wrong. Raucous Records was an American hip-hop record label known for starting the career of many rappers. Raucous started in 1995 with the release in hip-hop, drum and bass, and fun-dustrial. Label heads Brian Brader and Jarrett Meyer then signed some of the top underground talent from the New York area, notably Mos Def, Talib Kweli, High Tech, and Company Flow, who went on to define the label sound. Yeah. Fucking crazy. Most of these are considered classics among hip-hop aficionados. I heard Eminem's freestyle recently. What a fucking piece of shit, right? Raucous Records was established 1995, blah, blah, blah. Financial backing of James Murdoch, son of Rupert Murdoch. I wonder about that. So this stuff, when we're looking at power structures in society and minds, the reason why I bring up that is that it's all like together. There's, oh, here we go. Bourgeois rats for the granary. There's this quote that showed me this relationship. I should look it up because it's been in my head for a while. How do you spell bourgeois? I'm always bad at that. Let me try that first. Bourgeois. Bourgeoisie. Bourgeois. Bourgeois. Rats for the granary. This is why. Here we go. American Superrealism. Nathaniel West. Yeah, this is where I got it. Nathaniel West, which is an amazing human being. Where is it? I cannot find. Look up granary. Now we're in Google Books. Remember when Google said they wanted to put all of human knowledge online? How naive were they, right? It's a little bit more complicated than that, Google. There's people with vested interests to keeping us from knowing ourselves, like Rupert Murdoch and the ilk he serves. It would be more profitable for the farmer to raise rats for the granary than for the bourgeois to nourish the artist, Chekhov once defiantly observed. So this is... Who is this? Is that Nathaniel West quoting Chekhov or attributing to him? But he definitely was a guy who was trying to break through the dominant narrative. If you read his books, he was thumbing his nose at the Western canon. He found the Trojan horse, and its mouth being too high up and its belly button being too far away, he climbed up its ass. And he starts off with that irreverence into this whole fucking surrealistic trip through the Trojan horse and then through the Western canon. And then he has a cool million where he turns the story of the Horatio Alger story of a guy coming up and pulling up his own bootstraps to come from poverty up and succeed and save the family farm. He turns that on its head with a lot of cynicism. Like, you read it now and it's like very biting and sarcastic, and he gets wounded and loses an eye and loses his teeth and always just still trying to persevere. It's a fucking, that should be a movie. Caustic humor. So yeah, I think about that, and I think about Rupert Murdoch's son starting Raucous Records. So he's raising rats for the granary. His father with the granary of the money that you get for promoting wars of aggression. He's not using his news empire to promote objective truth or the search for it. And then when I read the New York Times for a year, I was like, wow, they're not really framing reality and the search for the objective truth either. They're emotionally triggering it. And then what I've been thinking this last year is, who's aware of this? These people who do this might just be inculcated, indoctrinated, in order to climb to the positions of power. Like we pointed out this one guy who was arguing with William Blum. Is this guy really an asshole, or is it just that in order to go to Yale and be where he is, he has to have certain belief system, which I talk to my folks about religion all the time, and I'm like, God, Jesus is kind of an asshole. Jesus says, believe in me or go to hell. Fuck you, Jesus. That's not how you approach people. I don't care if you're Jesus or Buddha or whatever. We have free will, and you have to accept that if people don't agree with you, that just doesn't mean that they're damned for eternity. Who fucking does that? That's an asshole in my life. The guy who comes into the room and if you're not his friend, you're fucking his enemy. It's like, no, we got boundaries. It's okay. Sometimes I chill and just observe people. How someone approaches you is very indicative of their character. And if someone doesn't allow me to keep my distance and just observe, then that's a con artist, right? That person comes up to you right away and is right on you. Oh, what's up, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's like, yo, no, let me see who you are first. You can see who I am. I'm a hard worker. I have my word. I move transparently. I shouldn't be any danger or threat to you. I am who I am. But I distrust people who want to be your friend right away, right? And that usually pushes me back a little bit. I don't just jump up on people and try to be their friend. I usually just slow roll it. Let your character be revealed through time. Let the truth be revealed through time. But now these newspapers, so the New York Times is not the most malicious one, but they're like calamity after calamity. What's his name? Jerry Seinfeld said, it's really funny. Isn't it funny that all of the world's news fits exactly into the newspaper every single morning? That's terrible, Jerry Seinfeld. Every single day, they give you the context for what's going on in the world. And if it bleeds, it leads. Disaster, calamity. That's what passes for culture nowadays, is emotional triggering. Emotional narratives with no respect. I noticed that at a young age, thinking about going to law school. No respect for objective truth. If you could argue it, it's true. It's true, and maybe that has a place in the court of law, because the court of law is where we establish truth. So you put your best truth against someone else's. But I've met many cynical lawyers, many cynical professionals in general. People who succeed in this culture, this dominant culture, seem to eventually, if they achieve some sort of success, in order to, I guess, dull their humanity, decide that there's no such thing as objective truth. There's nothing worth fighting for. There's no such thing as honor, brute force, and might. I run across that a lot, and then I run across the women who are neglected because of that. The victims, and children, I guess. The weakest among us. So women and children, because physical dominance is a persuasive tool of last resort for those who only believe in selfish greed and manipulation, right? Manipulate with your emotions and with your intellect, but if you have to, would you kill someone, rape someone, do something? Well, what does your character say? What does your morality say? You have no morality, then you just have, like you said, animal nature. And that's why a lot of these guys are getting Me Too. But I just don't understand about the Me Too movement, any movement. If you can't, Fred Hampton, 22 years old, and he realized that. We're not here trying to fight fire with fire. We're going to try to fight racism with solidarity. You see, there's two classes, the haves, the have not, the upper, the lower. And what they're doing, they're getting us to fight amongst ourselves, saying, you white, and I hate black people, and you black, and you hate Indians. We're fighting amongst ourselves. Without education, people start stealing money because they won't know what the foundation's all about. Without education, people are nobody, you dig. And before you know it, we'll have Negro capitalists. Before you know it, we'll have Negro imperialists. So he has a clarity of mind. That's what studying Zen and other stuff, all my life, that just is giving me the context of like really cool Zen stories about Zen masters who had a clarity of mind. And I'm like, I'm not alone. That's what it is. So with Addie, she's like, all my friends think you're crazy. Everyone thinks you're crazy. And I'm like, all right, well, I might be acting crazy. I know I'm not crazy, but I don't want to be alone as the only person in the world thinking I'm not crazy. So let me slow my roll. The appearance of crazy is almost as bad as crazy. And then says the guy with his tattoo, with his Social Security number tattooed on his arm. But my philosophy is proven to me. I meet people and have really good interactions. I live my philosophy, and it's validated through a lot of small little things. But yeah, I don't see that Fred Hampton wisdom, which he got at a young age, that I see in like the Zen any higher form of spirituality that isn't necessarily just, if you don't believe in what I believe, or if you don't follow my tradition, you're condemned to hell, but like any higher form of morality, which believes in universal ethics. The Mongols I was just reading about again this weekend because I was writing stuff, and the guy who sacked Baghdad went in there. He was like, why didn't you take those iron gates and fashion them as spears or arrow tips? Why don't you take all this gold that you just delivered to me as a reward? He said, give me all your gold. And the guy was like, all right, here's all our gold. He was like, no, the good shit. And he dug up mountains and mountains of gold from the city. He was like, why didn't you use this to defend your city? You can't fucking eat it. And it's just logic. The best leaders are ruthlessly logical. The Mongols were also ruthlessly bloodthirsty, but they couldn't have survived merely through violence. In the real world, sociopathic violence has a quick end. I remember in Puerto Rico, this guy came back from doing some time, and everyone stayed away from him because they knew he was on his way right back, just the way he was acting. He pulled a knife on a friend of mine at a bar. He tried to fucking con me into buying something, a scooter. I was like, nah, man, I'm not into it. And then I just didn't try to spend much one-on-one time with him because I would have probably had to buy it. Because that's like a strong arm. No, you said you're going to buy it, man. It's like a polite way to rob you for your money. Like he was chasing waterfalls or whatever the fuck you call it. But there's some people who just like, they're on one and you recognize it and you stay out of the way. And so that's what, no, order is established in history, in the wild, and through good management. And then these people with character flaws. So that's what, it's interesting. It's like, it's a complex, we got Rupert Murdoch, Citizen Murdoch, and I put like the Darth Vader music behind him. But Star Wars is a very simplistic parable, fable. You have a little bit of complexity to Darth Vader and Anakin. I didn't watch those other movies. It's just too much money, which I know now it's just a production. It's just not that good art can't make money, but the motives of the people who are creating it, I question. The first Star Wars consulted with Joseph Campbell, who wrote the book The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and Jungian philosophy of archetypes, which now Jordan Peterson is perverting for his own personal aim because he's a philosopher child. But we'll get to him when we get to him. But yeah, character. Character is important. I realized that at an early age. I'm working on mine now. I've been working on mine. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, but it means that I correct towards perfection. No one gets there, but there is a path, and that's what. When I have disagreements, I think I said in an earlier video, we align towards truth. If I'm a good dude, you're a good dude. We shouldn't have issues. And if we really are at in miscommunication, just disengage. That's how you make peace. I'll do my thing, you do your thing. Now, if I cross the red line, you cross the red line of mine, then like we got to settle something. But that's what the man of peace tries, not to trip those wires. So that's why these wars of aggression really bother me. We're tripping so many wires. It's like we're being burdened. The average American is being burdened by the dishonorable actions of our country. And then these men too. And then what's going on with the Sun funding hip hop? Is like, does the Sun, I really do think we're all born and grow up innocent and pure. And then his son, I read up about him. James Murdoch went and got put in their Sky News in Asia, and then now he's being incorporated into the media empire. He's not doing the hip hop shit anymore. So that was his, like, I guess the rich get a chance like that to fuck around before they get reincorporated. This girl, Penthouse Girl, if she survives her 20s, maybe she'll eventually go to law school and become a partner like her father. Maybe not. What is the other way to live outside the dominant structure? If you just look at the media consolidation, if all of our media has been consolidated or is being consolidated into a handful of players, where are the outside voices? We can listen to Alex Jones and the really radical. That's what it is. There's either mainstream or there's rabid radicals, and the middle seems to be what's attacked. They allow the rabidness to happen. That's what all of Europe and America is being pushed to the far right or to the mainstream. And the mainstream Obamatrons, that's not true. They emotionally trigger in their own way, and they don't have values. And that's what I guess I'm trying to. Whoa, that looks cool. I'm trying to create a space for a values-based discussion so we can have consensus on how to move our democracy forward. I should put that on a bumper sticker. Rupert Murdoch. This stuff reminds me. Every time I hear this stuff, I always forget a little bit of something. Like, what did he say? He bought the Wall Street Journal. We forget about that. Just turn on Fox News and how bullshit it is. People know the Wall Street Journal, Forbes are silly, but how silly? They're owned by the same companies. It happens, people are upset, but there's then the next outrage. We don't have really good institutions for keeping track of this stuff and actually trying to correct it. We've given up. That's why the younger generation smells, in fucking patriots. A war is fucking lit like a bag of fucking shit. You smell a fucking mess, but you're silent like the rest. Better fucking watch your lips, because everyone's a patriot. Will I ever get to the height of, to make a career, it'd be nice to do this and not be poor. But, or not just be at my folks' house. What about, if Fox News, the dogs of war, what if I get Hannity going after me? I told my mom. She's like, Hannity does kickboxing, and Hannity's so cool, and Hannity does this and that. I was like, well, what if he comes after me because he doesn't like what I'm saying? Knowing my mother, she would side with Hannity. Not in a bad way. She doesn't trust her own self. We talk about religion and stuff, and she was taught to not make waves. I think you could heal those people. It's tough, though. Especially tough when it's their family. But the money and other stuff will help put things in perspective. Yeah, some of us have to speak the truth as we see it. And I guess Bill Moyers or whoever did this, that I got his thing. That's what I wonder. Is it that thing where, like, with Addie, I think some of her lies, when she's covering up the truth, she's keeping me away from the truth by just introducing more and more bullshit. And I'm like, so you take a step back instead of trying to figure it out. You don't have to figure out what the truth is in order to realize someone's lying to you. And then once you have definitive proof they're lying to you, it's like, all right, take a step back, assess the situation. And then think about how much effort you're going to put forth, and you can catch them in a lie by comparing a couple different things. But remember not to fall into that trap of following them down the rabbit hole, because that's a way that they can steer you away from the truth. I think that's a lot of our media, is just to let off steam and steer us away from narratives that would be constructive for our democracy. So that's why when people tell me they don't listen to the news, I'm like, that's great, because a lot of it's not worth listening to, right? So mental peace. I think I said that this weekend. I think I wrote it down again. Peace is a source of wisdom. Wisdom is a source of strength. To explain more clearly, emotional peace, to calm down. You can't get those higher level thoughts unless you allow your brain to slow down. And that's what wisdom is. Now, wisdom is a source of strength because you can know technical application or something else, but wisdom is the highest form, the art form of whatever task you're doing, and what is applicable now to other areas. It's applied knowledge. You can read books and have technicians, but the wise manager doesn't have to be the specialist in every field, but he can come and approach problems with his years of experience and know how to solve them the best, even though he's not the specialist at that industry. I think Jeff Bezos and how he runs his company is pretty wise, but does he have the heart and does he have the peace? Because what are his aims and objectives? What is his character shown over the years he's been doing what he does? It's pretty, well, in this society, in order to matriculate to this society, you have to leave your humanity at the door. So I don't trust many people at the top of this society. If and when I get to the top of this society, will I have left my humanity at the door? Well, we are creating a metric with these videos. I thought of that a year ago. All you can do is put a poll in time, allow time to pass, put another poll, and then observe what you have in between. That's the data. And so I started not working, stopped working, started not working. November, December, probably December. And now we're in December, a whole year, recording my conversations, documenting my life. Now I'm recapping my whole life in these last months. So now we have data to observe as I go on and do the things that intuitively I think I should do. And my James Murdoch, who got into hip hop until he finally went back to the family business. Am I just going to go back to real estate and make money? Nah. I think I'm a little bit smarter than that. And I think that from what I've learned in life, I've healed myself enough to not have my humanity that vulnerable. But that's just what I say now. Let's see what Shaz says later on. I'm going to look at these in about a year. The end of next year. Why do I hiccup? When I drink these coffees while I do the videos, I hiccups. So I guess Rupert Murdoch, Citizen Murdoch. When this guy says, if Rupert Murdoch was the archangel angel Gabriel, you still wouldn't want him owning the moon, the stars, the blah, blah, blah. It's like religious imagery, hyperbolic expressions. Let's just work on creating useful news outlets in order to protect our democracy by having an informed public that engages in civics. There's too much at stake now to be outlandish like the child or emotional. Let's just slowly but surely. This is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. So that was entertaining, but the facts in that are really good. And then I love putting him at the end saying, no, we can only control the narrative in a limited way. Of course we have our opinion, but shut the fuck up, man. You guys are pieces of shit. We can see that by how you run your business, how you talk to us, how you manipulate information, how you treat your women. All signs of character. And once you call it so many times in your life, you learn to call it quickly. So I'm calling it. It's okay. Because not only do you get the women, and not only do you get the honor and the respect of your peers, but you also get the money by competing with people like this in their spheres. So I had to prove to myself that I could make money. And now that I know I can make money, now I feel like every person who lacks character in an industry that I'm interested in is just holding my money for me. So they're just holding my bags, keeping them warm until Shaz comes to collect. I think that's the narrative we're running with so far.